has there, let's say at the end of the day you're done playing a character, and do you have to take some time to decompress, or is it literally like cut and you're walking out laughing and high fiving everyone?
It depends on the role. It depends
Mm-hmm.
on the demands of the role. There have been some roles that have been so emotionally heavy that at the end of a show or something, the cast might say, "Hey, let's go out to the restaurant and get something to eat, or let's go to the bar." And I'll say, "You know what? I'm going to take it on in. I'm going to go. I'm just going to get some sleep
Mm.
because I need some time to myself to just be with myself.
Right,
To
right.
just process through what has just happened. If it was a stage play, it just happened for like the last 2 hours, of going through something. So sometimes, and it's about finding your process and also finding what you need to take care of yourself as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
And you gotta honor taking care of yourself in the work. So you shouldn't feel like, oh, well, they're going out. I don't want to feel like I'm antisocial and get caught up in that, and then end up not taking care of yourself emotionally.
Gotcha.
You gotta know what you need to do to recover in a healthy way.
Gotcha. I feel like actors would understand that though.
Some do.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. That's true.
How so? Jealous lovers. How so? Jealous lovers. How so? Jealous lovers. How so? Jealous lovers shake
Welcome everybody to Casting for Two, the podcast, as always hosted by me, yours truly, Chris. Uh, Welcome everybody to episode number 413. This is a good episode, exciting episode, great guest, phenomenal guest. But of course, before I need to take a swig real quick. Before I talk about my guest today, I have to do the message of the podcast, which is be kind and courteous to others. And my guest today actually, pointed this out when we were talking about character development and finding ways to portray characters. He said that my guest today is Javon Johnson, and he's a phenomenal actor, writer, a person in general. He's just a phenomenal person. And he said that even though we may lead different lives, the pain we feel is on the same level. We can connect with, the pain and the laughter and all that, everything that makes us human. And I thought that was such a fantastic way. I'm butchering it, I know, but it's such a fantastic way of thinking. And Jovan, thank you so much for that. And it's one of the things that I've been saying is that, look, we're all here. We're all on this planet. Let us all work together. And I know I'm asking for a lot, but work together and wear a freaking mask. All right, people? If you don't have to go out, you really don't. You don't have to eat at a restaurant. No, have a nice intimate dinner at home. But if you are going to go out, wear a mask, and it's for your safety and the safety of others. All right. I'm done talking. I want to get into this episode with Jovan because he's a phenomenal person who devotes his time to not only acting but spreading the craft of acting to his community. And you'll hear just phenomenal person. All right, let's get into it. All right, so Jovan, take it away. Hi, what's going on?
Not much. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well, enjoying this nice Wednesday and chilling and waiting to talk to a phenomenal guest today.
I'm waiting to talk to him too.
Ah, no. So We're already going like this, we're into it. We're deep. We're into the conversation. But
Okay.
I'm excited to talk to you for a lot of reasons. But obviously, with last year, it feels weird saying last year, but last year being what it was, and everybody, staying in and quarantining and all that jazz. Did you find that your spending more time at home, that your creativity had an uptick?
You know what? This is what I discovered, man.
Yeah.
The pandemic and the whole kind of worldwide shutdown made me see myself and my career in a different way. It was eye opening because what I realized is that at least for the last decade up to that point, I had devoted so much time and energy and talent and knowledge to crafting other people's works
Mm-hmm.
and helping people create their content and develop their voice in their projects. And I had not realized that in that 10-year span, I had not written an original piece.
Mm.
And it was and I felt like I had dishonored myself creatively. I felt like that was a tragedy because you have to honor your voice. You have to honor
Right.
your own uniqueness and your purpose in the work. And even though I have a purpose in others, I have a responsibility to my own creative life.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I had neglected it and forsaken that in the name of helping others with their creative voices.
Mm-hmm.
And so the pandemic allowed me to see that, and I rededicated myself to myself
Mm-hmm.
in works that I had been sitting on for years. I went back to those things and refocused and became even more of a entrepreneur and independent artist as a result of that. And also dedicated myself to the Fruit Conservatory project,
Mm.
and a lot of other things like that. So yeah, it caused me to look at myself and shift how had been using my energy and efforts.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I mean that is definitely important to have a sense of own self creativity and just do the things that you want to do and being from what you said being a person of helping others is time for Jovan's time. That's what times it is.
Right, absolutely.
Now, I'm curious, now that you've had that sense of clarity and going back and looking at the stuff that you have thought of, I don't know how many years, but when you first thought of it, did it give you a little bit more insight to when you first thought of it to now having, lived and experienced, life?
And when I thought about, I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Yeah, I was just wondering, when you're looking at those ideas that you want to do for yourself, that you want to write,
Hmm.
um, you know, for me personally, there's always when I think of like a story idea, I'm like,
Hmm.
man, it's an idea, I'll think of it, and then years later, I'll be like, I got it, I got that idea because I've lived life and I've done things and experienced things. Did you have that sense when you're looking at these past ideas of like, oh, I know where I want to take this story or this character?
That's forever evolving, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's a constant wheel spinning. You know what I mean? Some of those, as that creative wheel is spinning, some of it, sometimes you see something, you can grab it and you're like, oh yeah, I got this one. But then there's some things that's spinning on that wheel. You say, you know what? I see what that is,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't mess with that for another 10 years
Gotcha. Gotcha.
because there's some stuff that needs to happen in life for me to
Yeah.
actually, I know that I'm going to deal with that, but it's down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of that happens too. And then there's things that I have a list of ideas and concepts and stories, probably about a list about 70 different titles and little one-liners about what this project is could be about.
Mm-hmm.
that's just in my directory of ideas that I haven't been able to get to over these years. So they're just sitting in my list. So and these are things that just popped up over the years. I'm like, oh, that'd be a good story to tell. That'd be a good character to create. That's a good thing right there to explore. And I jot them down. But now I'm at the place where I can go back and look at these things and say, okay, which one of these things I really want to tackle and flesh out, because they came to me at some point very organically. And so obviously I have some type of connection to this idea. Let me just go back and say which one of these I feel like right now is the right time to try to develop. And some of them, like I say, is like, okay, this is not the right time for this one, but we'll come to that later.
Okay. Okay. And I know you're again. You mentioned earlier how you have a theater company, and when you come up with an idea, do you think, oh, this would be great for to put on at the theater company, or this would be great for a movie? Like, do you have that sense of, I want this to be that and this to be that, or is it just, it's a story, however it goes out, it goes out?
There's two worlds that I think, I operate in, and I don't know how much this qualifies for other people, but there's the business world and then there's the artistic world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes they don't coincide.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if you think as an artist, we want to always feel like everything we're doing is so important and everybody's going to love it and it's so creative and relevant. But then on the business end, you start thinking, what demographic is this for?
Right.
How can we market this? How are we going to make money? How much is it going to cost? So on the business end of things, there's a different thought process. Sometimes I really know ahead of time what this should be or what I think it should be. This is a web series, this is a short film, this is a feature, it's a TV pilot, because it's intentional on the business end. But on the artistic end, it's just organic. And for me, that process is about it evolving into whatever it is. And I kind of try to stay out of the way, and I just try to be a vessel and spend a lot less time judging it or trying to force it to be what I think it should be, and just allowing that organic process to happen, and then discover what is this thing I've created, and then say, oh, I think this feels like a stage play, or it feels like a one-man show, or it feels like blah 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 blah. So it's two different ways of operating creatively for me.
It's so important to have that way of thinking of, not only being the creative, but yes, the business side, the producer side. I wish I saw more of the producer side personally, because I'd like to read something and I just read it as a creator, but then I'll give it to my buddy who's just like, well, that's another $1, that's $1, that's $1, and he just give, and I'm like, what are you talking about? But he knows I get it, but still, I'm just like, I wish I possessed that part.
Right, absolutely. It takes both sometimes. It takes both. At least an understanding of both.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I'm fascinated with is an actor getting into character. And I know every role is different, but what are some of your processes for getting into character? Do you just have to do a ton of research, or do you use music? And heck, do you maybe even write something in your character? Or
You know what? The best way to answer that is I use everything possible. Definitely the research. The research is always there. You have to, at least in my understanding, you really have to do the research. And the more specific the world is, the more research you probably have to do. And then if you get into period pieces, an era that you didn't live in, or a region that you don't know much about, or a culture that you don't know much about, you really should start with as much research as possible, just to be well versed as versed as you can in the understanding of the world that you're stepping into. So research is critical. Beyond that, then it comes down to the craft of, how do you work as an actor? How do you access and get into, step into those shoes, into those clothes, into the psyche of the character that you're portraying, and into that world, that creative world. And that happens however it needs to happen. It might be through music, it might be through something visual, it might be through some attire, something I got to put on me. It might be just it might start with a shared experience. I might have, if we talk about my character on Tyler Perry's The Oval, where I played
Mhm.
Richard Halson on that show, the head butler at the White House. It's not far for me to reach to find him because he's a father.
Mhm.
He's a man of service. He cares about people. He cares about doing a great job. He cares about his reputation. He has integrity. So I'm like, oh, well, Richard and I are a lot we are alike in a lot of ways naturally.
Yeah.
I understand him. I understand the need to fight for your family, to hold things together, and to be the head of household, and to save, to make sure that when issues arise, that I got to put it. I got to make sure I fix this, or I mend this, and
Mhm.
make so that's not a far reach for me because he and I have shared experiences and shared
Mhm.
understandings, and we think similar. So, but if it's a different type of character, it may be a farther reach for me. So I
Mhm.
might have to do other things to get closer to that character.
Gotcha. Okay. And I'm curious. Has there been a period in your acting career where you were offered a character and for it just you just weren't able to connect with it with him?
Not that none that I've accepted.
Okay.
Um, I don't think I've ever gotten to that point where I've accepted a role and be like, oh, I can't do this. I can't find it. Like,
Yeah.
because part of accepting it is knowing that I can,
Mhm.
or having a strong sense of there should be a connection already.
Mhm.
If I'm accepting a job and I have no connection to it, that's I'm risking a little bit there.
Mhm.
But I'll say this also with that. If I'm well trained in the craft, I believe that emotionally we all should be able to play any character.
Mhm.
We should all be able to connect emotionally to any character. Technically, maybe not, but
Mhm.
emotionally, because at the end of the day, what we're talking about is the ideal of a human being having a human experience.
Mhm.
And there's only so much when you get down to the bare when you break things down to the bare minimum, and you put everything else out the way, all the things that distract us, and we say this is a human being in front of me,
Right.
although maybe a fictitious one. But what I'm trying to get to is the human experience and the work, right? So if I say, Chris, you have your life has looked like this over the years that you've been living, and I say Javon's life has been looking like this. If we go to the human aspect of that, we're going to find some commonalities and understanding on the emotional level. So you're going to know hurt the same way I know hurt. It might not be the same certain circumstances,
Right. Right.
but hurt is hurt, love is love, hate is hate, anger is anger, loneliness is loneliness, sadness is sadness.
Mhm.
So on an emotional level, that's universal.
Mhm.
So I should be able to find my way into any character emotionally and connect with them emotionally. Where we get into the technical stuff is, oh, this character is an astrologist or anesthesiologist, and it's like, okay, now how do I technically get to that?
Right.
Because
Right.
I don't know what that is.
I don't
Now
want
I
to go
have
to
to,
medical
yeah,
school. Come
yeah, I got
on.
to research that. I got to get some advice. I got to have an advisor or somebody telling me what does it
Yeah.
mean to be and I was an anesthesiologist on this Fox show called Mob Doctor that lasted for
Mm.
one season.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a whole new world technically, but emotionally it wasn't an issue. You know what I'm saying? But technically, because emotionally you say, I don't know what it means to be an anesthesiologist technically, but emotionally I know what it means to care about somebody and want to save their life,
Mm.
to make people feel better, to be a service to somebody that's in need. Like I know that's the human part of it.
Mm. Has there, let's say at the end of the day you're done playing a character, and do you have to take some time to decompress, or is it literally like cut and you're walking out laughing and high fiving everyone?
It depends on the role. It depends
Mm-hmm.
on the demands of the role. There have been some roles that have been so emotionally heavy that at the end of a show or something, the cast might say, "Hey, let's go out to the restaurant and get something to eat, or let's go to the bar." And I'll say, "You know what? I'm going to take it on in. I'm going to go. I'm just going to get some sleep
Mm.
because I need some time to myself to just be with myself.
Right.
To
Right.
just process through what has just happened. If it was a stage play, it just happened for like the last 2 hours, of going through something. So sometimes, and it's about finding your process and also finding what you need to take care of yourself as an artist.
Hmm.
And you gotta honor taking care of yourself in the work. So you shouldn't feel like, oh, well, they're going out. I don't want to feel like I'm antisocial and get caught up in that, and then end up not taking care of yourself emotionally.
Gotcha.
You gotta know what you need to do to recover in a healthy way.
Gotcha. I feel like actors would understand that though.
Some
Like,
some
yeah,
do.
yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. That's true. I shouldn't
Yeah, there's a
generalize.
lot of us. There's a lot of us that tend to get lost and don't put the self care and don't make the self care a priority, and we
Right.
make society a priority or other things priority,
Hmm.
and we find ourselves dealing and struggling with some things and not realizing that we haven't taken care of ourselves in the right way.
And as far as the theater company goes, I'm curious what made you want to start a theater company?
Well, this is well, I'm a founding ensemble member of
Mm-hmm.
Congo Square Theater Company in Chicago, which is now in its 20th season.
Mm-hmm.
That's an actual theater company. What I'm building in the state of South Carolina is a conservatory, which is a performing arts training center. So this is really for the purpose of training and cultivating and nurturing aspiring artists in the community who don't have access to industry level training. I want to be able to build that here in the state of South Carolina because I
Mm-hmm.
ran into a lot of people who were taking their kids, flying them every weekend to New York
Oh wow.
to New York to get training, or they're driving back and forth to Atlanta trying to get training. And I'm like, well, if I'm here, I can build it because it's needed.
Mm-hmm.
And like myself and Chadwick Boseman, who played the Black Panther,
Yeah.
who passed recently, who is also from Anderson, South Carolina, like myself. We were very close. But when I look at South Carolina and where our careers went to, there wasn't much here that had to contribute to that. There
Mm-hmm.
wasn't much here that contributed to the success that he had and that I'm having in the industry, which I think is a sad state of affairs for the state of South Carolina in terms of its local artists.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I first came back to South Carolina about 7 or 8 years ago, I couldn't work
Mm.
as a professional artist. I couldn't work, one, because I couldn't afford it. There was no real major theater houses, regional houses that could afford what I would normally get in some of the other theaters, throughout the country. And I just couldn't afford to. And there was not even enough union houses.
Mm.
So I thought that was another sad state of affairs because I'm saying, here I am. I've done all this stuff, TV, film, Broadway, all this other stuff. And I get home and I can't even do the work.
Right. Right.
I said, that's not good. That what that revealed to me was I have to. Anybody who wants to work professionally at that level have to leave
Mm-hmm.
the state of South Carolina to do it. And I said, well, that's sad.
Right. Right.
So all those things, accumulated into let me be a part of building something that not only gives access to local artists to, one, be able to dream that they can even do this, because I don't think this is a state that allows you to dream
Mm.
of this type of work, because it's a lot of textile, auto manufacturing,
Mm.
medical field, things like that are prominent. But I didn't meet in my childhood. I didn't come across a lot of kids talking about they want to be actors or writers or directors. That wasn't a part of the vocabulary. They talked about playing sports,
Right. Right.
talked about working at BMW or Ryobi, some of these plants and things, because that's the world they knew.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first came back, I did a few free workshops just to see what was out there, and I was getting people in workshops that were sitting on things that they wanted to do for the past 30, 40 years, like write a
Wow.
book,
Wow.
or they always wanted to be an actor. And I'm like, what are you doing now? They're not doing any of it, but they say, I always wanted to do this. And I say, well, why haven't you done it? They're not in a community that says you should do this and this is how you do it. And we're going to help you develop and nurse and develop your craft and find your voice and all of that stuff. They didn't have it. So that was the impetus for creating Fruit Conservatory, to provide a house for people to dream in, and then give permission to even pursue that dream, and then give a means to develop your craft to give your best shot at being successful at that dream. And then it didn't stop there. I say, well, it's one thing to train people,
Hmm.
but then it's another thing to actually help them get their career started. So along with Fruit Conservatory, which is the training facility, the training part of it, we also created Barefoot Entertainment, which is the production part of it. So not only are you training in the school, you're actually going to have professional experience along the way.
Nice.
And you get, in this scenario, you might come out with a lead role in a feature film that might have taken you another 10 years to get in the industry.
Hmm.
But you can star in your own situation so that when you go out into the industry, you can show them who you really are and what you're capable of, versus them
Right.
saying, I don't know you, I don't know what you've done. And you're knocking on the door and you come into the table asking to be fed. Well, my idea is that I'm going to send you to the table with a plate in your hand with an offering, saying
Hmm.
this is what I have to add to the menu.
Gotcha. It's, I think you are doing, by doing that, just an excellent service for, the people around you, the younger generation, the older generation, to not have to go through the struggles that you went through. But also, I'm just a huge supporter in the arts, and I always get mad when school districts and stuff like that's always arts is always on the chopping block. I'm just like, but why? I just feel like it creates, it taps into somebody's mind and creates a more full-fledged person. Not to discredit academics, but I'm just a huge supporter of the arts, and what you're doing is phenomenal. I wish I had that here, which I'm probably going to go look for, but still,
Where are you, Chris? Where are
I,
you?
I'm in San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, Texas. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
and it's fun because similarly, what I'm in a same place that maybe your students or people coming to you where I don't have a support group to go to. I don't know how to get in there. I mean, the stuff I want to do is just editing, and it's just me grinding on various job websites and stuff like that, just trying to get a foot in the door. And a lot of the acting communities in Austin, because I'm close to Austin, but they're so closed, I can't break in. So having like
Mm.
an open space that are like, yeah, come in, yeah, that is very much appreciated. So
No, thank you. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate we're trying to we had our launch party scheduled for Saturday, but once again, COVID strikes again, and we had
mm,
to postpone and reschedule. So we're trying to get it officially launched and announced very soon here. Where we're going to move to is a virtual launching
mm,
of the Barefoot Conservatory, so that we can get the community aware that, one, this is happening in the upstate area of South Carolina, and that is available. So we're still working on getting that official announcement going for the state to know that we're here.
gotcha. Okay. And well, for people at home who want to keep updated with all of that, when it goes live, or just anything in general, where can they do all that?
You can go to uh, I'm sorry, that phone was ringing in the
No, you're
background.
fine. You're fine.
Um, www.barefruitsc.com,
Hmm.
and bear is Bear.
Hmm.
That's the website, Barefoot SC as in South Carolina.com. And we also on Instagram at Barefoot SC as well.
Nice. Okay. And if there's one thing that I like to leave the podcast at, uh, as an actor working in the industry for a while, um, there's nothing more horrific than a bad audition. And I'm wondering, do you have an audition horror story?
I can't imagine any actor who's been doing this for a period of time not having bad audition. I would say most of my early auditions were bad.
Yeah.
Like, and I kind of, when you ask that question, you know what, the one that was terrible, and I remember it, and this is weird because I never thought that I would even be doing this, was getting cut from, I believe it was either third or fourth, but I believe it was my fourth grade drama class, um, from my audition.
Oh, wow.
And at that time, I remember saying, I'll never do that again. I'll never do anything that has to do with that type of thing, like acting. Like, I don't, but it hurt. You're a kid and you
Yeah.
feel like you're not good enough. You know what I mean? It's like somebody said, you're not good enough. And I was like, I'm never going to do that again. But here I am doing this a lot now. But I
Yes.
always remember getting cut from auditions, after auditions for the drama club in elementary school. And I
Wow.
remember it was terrible. It wasn't a good audition. It was bad. That was
and
not good.
and see, you channeled it into helping others, hopefully, make their own audition story. Hopefully they're not horrible, but yeah, again, yeah, I feel like bad auditions are a passage of acting.
Yeah, yeah, you have to go through it, man. It's like, did Jerry Rice catch all the balls expertly when he first
Yeah.
started playing football?
Nah. I'm sure he dropped
No.
some as a baby, you throw a
Yeah,
ball
he
at the
probably,
baby,
he
dropped it.
probably looked ridiculously clumsy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but he got to a point where he became a Hall of Fame receiver. So
Exactly.
it's
Exactly.
process.
Exactly. Well, Jovan, thank you for chatting with me. I've had a good time, and I think you're doing a phenomenal service. And I'm excited to see what work you come out with for yourself. And, keep in touch. Anytime you want to be on the show, just say the word, all right?
I appreciate that, Chris. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your day, and keep staying safe and healthy. All right.
Same to you.
Thank you. All right. Bye bye.